You're listening to Four Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast.
Today is Tuesday, June 16th. I'm Maria Lizignoli.
I'm Johnny Connor. Thank you for listening and watching Four Things to Know today.
15 people are facing federal charges tied to what prosecutors say was a coordinated effort to interfere with immigration enforcement operations in Minnesota. This story tops our Four Things to Know today. So for number one, we're going to Barrett Leone, who was in a press conference announcing these charges and heard from U.S. Attorney for Minnesota Daniel Rosen and Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent in Charge Michael McCarthy.
12 people were arrested this morning. One person was already in custody, and 2 are still wanted fugitives at this point. All 15 people charged are from the Twin Cities, and they're facing multiple charges, including conspiracy to impede federal officers and assault on a federal officer, among other charges. Now, according to investigators, the defendants are members or associates of Direct Action Minnesota. Prosecutors describe them as using militant tactics against federal law enforcement and refer to them as Antifa. The indictment focuses on incidents in January and March, alleging members used homemade shields and other barricades to block officers at the Whipple Federal Building. Officials also allege some members followed and surveilled federal officers, including one member that tracked an officer from Minnesota into Wisconsin. The feds stress there's a clear distinction between peaceful protests and criminal conduct.
To those who choose to threaten or harm federal officers, we will hold you accountable. We will defend federal officers. We will protect the public. We will enforce the law.
Let me be clear. Peaceful protest is a protected right and a cornerstone of our democracy. We respect and defend that right. However, there's a clear line that cannot be crossed. When protest turns into rioting, violence, or criminal activity, it becomes unlawful, and it will not be tolerated.
And we did hear from the Immigration Defense Network, who tells us one of their community observers was arrested this morning after federal agents raided their home. Now, protesters have begun to gather outside the federal courthouse here in Minneapolis, and they are calling these arrests a violation of civil rights.
This afternoon, there was an initial appearance for 12 of the 15 protesters at the St. Paul Federal Courthouse. We'll have more on that online and later tonight in our newscasts. And Johnny, that leads us to number 2 today, where we know one of the people who has been charged.
That's right, Maria. One of the defendants is Kyle Wagner. He was already arrested in February and charged for threatening ICE agents. Today, he's facing additional charges for interfering with the immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota. To illustrate some of the prosecution's case against Wagner, they played a video that he himself posted during Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis. Curse words have been beeped out for this podcast. Take a listen.
Show up ready to go. Okay, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. I am talking specifically to my followers. This is everything I have talked about, and this is exactly what I said was going to happen. This is exactly what I said was going to come when we didn't go and march on Whipple with guns. Sorry, but welcome to America 2026, where Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you protected from literal Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your guns and stop these people.
And that leads us to number 3 today. We have an update on the investigations into the killings of Renee Good and Alex Pretti in Minneapolis. They were both shot and killed by federal immigration officers in January during Operation Metro Surge. Right now, there are federal internal investigations by Border Patrol and the Department of Homeland Security with the officers involved. Minnesota officials have complained that federal agencies have not fully shared evidence with state investigators. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota, Daniel Rosen, was asked at the press conference about a future charging decision based on the evidence in those federal investigations. Here's what he said.
If the evidence shows that we can prosecute and convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt, we will charge. We will not undercharge. We will not overcharge. But we will pursue federal prosecution in the manner that the evidence dictates.
Number 4 today, people gathered outside the federal courthouse to protest charges against the 15 defendants today. We heard from Jordan Kushner. He's a Minneapolis civil rights attorney. He spoke to the crowd protesting.
Government is using its power, its unjustified power that's illegitimate to try and persecute the people who they were able to identify who were most involved in organizing the resistance, in organizing the nonviolent legal resistance to their fascism. And so let's not sugarcoat this. Let's be clear. This is a renewed fascist offensive against the people of the community.
We have multiple reporters digging into this today, so look for updates in our later newscasts and online.
Those are the 4 things to know today. Let's check in now on our next weather forecast.
Hi, next weather meteorologist Lisa Meadows. Thunderstorms in the forecast as we head tonight, especially for tomorrow. Down to 57 tonight. Tomorrow's high 68 with cloud cover. Round of storms possible in the morning, afternoon, and evening as well.
And now, here's more to know.
A Minneapolis woman is charged in the death of her 2-year-old grandson. Court documents filed late last week show the child died from a fentanyl overdose. Now, the 42-year-old grandmother of the boy is facing 1 count of second-degree manslaughter. On March 18th, police were called to a known residence on a report of a child not breathing. Officers found drug paraphernalia in the home. The woman is not in custody, and the state has requested a warrant for her arrest.
The Minneapolis City Council is seeking the public's feedback as they consider repealing a ban on adult bathhouse and venues where consenting people can have sex. The 4 ordinances would create a licensing framework, update zoning regulations, revise health standards, and add exceptions to existing indecency laws. Bathhouses were popular among some men in the U.S. until public pressure and laws led to their closure. Raids of bathhouses sent them underground without oversight or regulation. But several cities like Duluth and St. Paul have allowed them to continue to operate with varying levels of oversight. And Maria, that's being discussed today in the Minneapolis City Council, but that's not the only thing on their agenda.
Yeah, that's right, Johnny. Today, the data center debate also moves to Minneapolis. The city passed a 6-month moratorium running through November, and now they're asking the public to share their thoughts before putting any permanent rules in place. The city council will vote on it in the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee this afternoon. Meanwhile, in Elk River, dozens of people fought against another new data center in their city last night. A proposal would convert an existing building into a 33-megawatt data center to operate 24 hours a day. It's estimated to bring in up to $800,000 a year for the city, and developers say it would also employ 40 people. But much of the concern is centered around noise, water usage, and electricity demand. Utility leaders say they have the capacity for it. Catherine Hoffman with the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy says developers are moving too fast and there just isn't enough information on the risks.
The noise near these data centers has been shown to cause health problems. For example, heart disease and stress. So for people that live nearby, this is a big deal. Lighting is a big deal in terms of sky glow and sleep disruption.
Hoffman says a state role is needed here. She adds it's not fair to expect cities to be able to do that level of environmental analysis when the state already knows how to do it.
A big update for you today. A beagle breeder is calling it quits in Wisconsin. Ridgeland Farms has been at the center of controversy for months now. It's one of the nation's largest breeders of beagles used for laboratory testing. Back in March, police arrested protesters who broke in and snagged 30 of the dogs. And in April, animal activists stormed the property, prompting police to use tear gas and pepper spray. The facility had thousands of dogs. Hundreds have already been sent to shelters, including several in Minnesota. Over in Wisconsin, though, the remaining beagles are headed to a shelter in Florida before the breeder shuts down later this summer.
There's now a $25,000 reward for information in a missing persons case that started nearly 40 years ago. Carla Beth Anderson disappeared at the age of 23 on November 13, 1987. Her parents had just dropped her off at her apartment in Wadena. Neighbors searched nearby fields for weeks, walking shoulder to shoulder but finding nothing. Investigators say Carla suffered from a mild intellectual disability. She was proud to have a job and live alone in her own apartment. A search of her apartment found nothing had been disturbed. Only her keys were missing, and the apartment was locked from the outside. Wadena Police Chief Naomi Plotz says law enforcement has never given up.
Our investigators have conducted hundreds of interviews with potential witnesses and suspects. We have pursued, re-examined, and exhausted hundreds of tips and leads. But someone knows what happened. Someone knows.
Anyone with information should call the Wadena Police Department at 218-631-7700 or call the BCA tip line at 877-996-6222.
Let's get to some sports headlines. The Twins, they got a win last night in Texas. They have another one down there. They've started to win some games lately. I don't know what's going on.
Twins, pick it up.
Yeah, first pitch, 7 o'clock tonight. Lynx, they also got their win of their own last night. They beat Portland by 33 points.
That's insane.
Yeah, they just creamed them.
They just kept going.
Now they go on the road out to L.A. Oh, that sounds nice. That's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. And football fans, listen up. The Vikings, they've announced their training camp schedule. It's really not that exciting.
But hey, if you want to watch them train, you can.
The first day open for fans, it's August 1st. That's a Saturday. Now, if you're a season ticket holder, you can actually get your tickets today. Everybody else on Thursday.
It's time to take a breath with your Daily Bright Spot.
A Wisconsin dog didn't let the language barrier stand in her way of alerting her owners a neighbor needed help. Lillian is a 4-year-old dog, and she lives in Weston, Wisconsin. One day, Lillian kept scratching at the apartment door, even growling a little bit. And since she was so insistent, her owners opened the door, and Lillian ran out down the hall to another door. And that's when her owners heard what she had been hearing the whole time, a person yelling for help. Their neighbor had fallen and was unable to get up, and they say she was taken to the hospital and is on the road to recovery now. But who knows what would have happened if Lillian hadn't stepped in.
That's such a nice story. Dogs are just the best.
Dogs are incredible. We don't deserve dogs,
I know.
Truly.
They always put a smile on your face. They don't know, the character you have, good or bad,
Right.
But
yeah, they love you no matter what.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, that is a literal example of a dog's probably, maybe saving someone's life.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
So.
Yeah. That's a good story after this really kind of a hard day of news. So thank you for bearing with us, and we'll definitely keep you updated tomorrow. So stick with us here again on 4 Things to Know with Johnny Connor. I'm Maria Lizignoli, and we're here with the news you need every weekday afternoon by 3 o'clock.
Listen to 4 Things to Know, a WCCO daily news podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Maria Lizignoli, and this podcast comes to you from the WCCO Podcast Studio.
I'm Johnny Connor, and this is where you'll find the latest news of the day with us on 4 Things to Know.
I'm Mariel Mose, and I bring you the stories behind the female athletes redefining the game on women in sports.
I'm Adam Duxter. Join me for a deep dive into faith and what it means to Minnesotans around the state on Bigger Than Belief.
Stay in the know on the go with the WCCO Podcast Studio. Go to WCCO.com/podcasts.